good.
Welcome, everybody. Another episode of the Off the Tools podcast. How we doing, Andy?
Morning. All good. Talking brew shop, coffee shop.
Yeah, I've got nothing today. I've got Lady of the Manor. So.
Well, very apt. Very apt.
Oh, well, the year is rolling, isn't it? And today we are talking about some must-read stroke listen, because of Audible now, books that we personally recommend that you spend some time and effort on consuming. We all know the importance of learning new things, understanding things from a different perspective, and reading stroke listening to books is a very, very powerful tool in helping us as men grow ourselves and our businesses and our family. So I'm super excited actually to sort of reminisce on some of the books that I've sort of read and listened to over the years. It's
a bit of a different one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've never really sort of done anything like this, so it might last 10 minutes, it might last an hour. I really don't know. I don't know how much I've got to say about each book that I'm going to be talking about, and same for Andy. But I've picked out some key ones that might not necessarily have had the best information, but they sort of made the biggest change to me on my journey. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And is that the same for you? Yeah. So
sorry, go on.
Go on. Getting a bit of a delay today.
So I've tried to put a couple of mine. One of them in particular is a bit more, rather than it being, we don't want to bamboozle you all with pure businessy stuff. So there's some life stuff in there as well as a recommendation for any of you guys into fitness, especially running. So for those that don't know, I'm doing the Manchester Marathon in April, which is quite out of my comfort zone. I'm not a distance guy. Give me a 10K, I can do a decent time. But yeah, distance is not my thing. I do, as someone who's done like high roxes and stuff, that explosive, let the heart rate drop is me. How I'm going to handle 26 miles, I do not know. So off a recommendation from Wayne, I've listened to one particular book, which I'll talk about more in a bit, which is just a good bit of motivation, but it's transferable through to business as well. Yeah. So anything resilience based is transferable skills. So let's go.
Definitely. I've tried to pick some that sort of cover the whole aspect. So the first one, which for me, I think we spoke about it very briefly on another podcast, but it is this one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. So this one for me was like opening a new door that I didn't know exist. And what I mean by that is once I'd read it, there we go. He's got the same one. It was very, very big in the 90s and the noughties, wasn't it? I believe. But even today, it is so relevant. And in essence, he's got two dads. They're not technically his dads. Well, one is a rich dad and a poor dad. And it just goes through life's journey with the poor dad and life's journey with the rich dad, and makes you really understand the difference between assets and liabilities. And like I said, it's one of those things that on the surface of it, it's very hard to say exactly, what did I actually sort of learn from it? But it was more of the perception shift and the different direction that I can honestly say that since reading that book, I've definitely been on a completely different trajectory. It's just like, it's some books are like, yes, I learned XYZ, this book isn't quite like that, but it is certainly worth reading or listening to it. The Audible version is very good. I think I listened to the Audible first, then I decided to read it and sort of digest it again, and then I went on and actually read he's got loads of books. I think there's about 10. He's even got, I think he's got a book with Donald Trump as well. So he puts a lot of content, or he did put a lot of content out. So definitely go check him out. Did you read it, Andy, or did you listen to it?
Yeah, so read it. It wasn't, for me, it was probably maybe the 4th or 5th book of a similar sort of about the same kind of principles that I read.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It wasn't as pivotal for me as it was for you.
Yeah.
But the same rules apply. It was the mindset shift as well as a sort of context of, you know, money kind of shift and how you view things. And again, you can take as little or as much as you want. So obviously it's really popular with like investors,
Properties,
property entrepreneurs, things like that, because it's very much about, you know, passive income and things like that in certain sections. But the core premise of it really is just thinking differently about money and not just constantly earning it, spending it, earning it, spending it. So obviously it applies to any business owner, whether it's a trade business, construction business, or, you know, something a bit more higher level. But it's just an absolute mindset shift on money, and you start to think, well, actually, I can pivot things around, and obviously it can be implemented in almost any way. So people get very caught up on, you know, he's very big on passive income. There's a lot of talk about it in the book, passive income, and not being an earner, trying to position yourself so you're generating passive income. Is it making money? As if you don't make money while you sleep? Yeah, something, I can't remember what the phrase is.
I can't remember the exact phrase, but basically, in essence, you need to all be making money while you sleep. In essence,
so,
isn't it?
For us, for obviously when the trades and construction business owners that me and Wayne coach, one of the big ones with that is the service plans, which can be implemented into virtually any business, but obviously by design for what we do, any trades and construction business. So that's that is, again, to finish what I was saying, people get really caught up on thinking, especially in the trades, actually, small tangents, so bear with me. And this was actually what was the original driving force for me delving down the route of property education. And it's still such a common topic of tradesmen thinking, I will go and buy a house and do it up and then rent it out because I've got the skill set to do it. That makes sense. And people get really caught up on, that's the only option as a trades business owner to get a passive income is to get a rental property. But there's a lot of other options. You know, you can do stocks and things like that. But obviously what we're big on is service plans because it's recurring revenue. And it comes in whether you're busy, whether you or your team is busy, or whether it's not, that money is still going to be coming in. So that was the big takeaway from me. It was like, oh yeah, this can be applied to a trades business via a recurring revenue model. So
yeah, definitely. And I think now you've sort of gone down that rabbit hole. I think one of the things it helped me understand as well was that it didn't necessarily have to be property to generate that. It sort of cemented that there are other ways. You don't have to just buy a property, rent it out, all of that side, which is fine. You know, if you're doing that and you can do it successfully, great. But it's quite difficult, you know, don't care what these fucking property gurus tell you. It's quite difficult to raise the money, fucking look after tenants. I decided, you know what, instead of that, I'm going to build service plans that are going to create me monthly cash flow far better than I'd need 20 properties to sort of generate the cash flow that I generate through my service plans. So for me at the time, it was the right decision. You know, if you can do property, yeah, great. I'm not sitting here saying property is not a good investment, but it's hard. Creating passive income doesn't have to be hard. That is ultimately what the final point for me there was.
Yeah, definitely. And the property thing's been made way harder as of late.
Especially with tax changes.
Yeah, with the tax, like you got to remember, the government doesn't want you to own private extra property. They want it themselves, so they can put people on benefits or asylum seekers in them, and they have ultimate control. They would ideally want control of all of the. I might get banned for this, but. Might get cancelled. I can't think of the word then. I might get cancelled for this, but we'll roll with it anyway. I've said a few controversial things as of late on the podcast. But they ultimately want the property, so they make things a little bit more difficult. And it's kind of gone a bit full circle now, so that you need to, if you've got the extra capital to go and buy it outright, then it kind of works. But the traditional way of trying to generate passive income of buying something on a mortgage doesn't really work anymore. But yeah, we'll come back anyway, because this is, we could do probably another podcast on passive income investment, things like that. We could do a quick short one on that in the future, can't we?
We'll stick that on the list. But talking of controversial subjects, that the next book I'm going to recommend is a little bit controversial. So for a lot of you probably would never have heard of this. If you have, then you're my type of guy. So it is a book called Atlas Shrugged by an author. I believe she's German. I always pronounce her name wrong. Ayn Rand. In her time, she was very sort of controversial. Probably, if you're looking at politics, it's probably leaning on the right side of politicky sort of mindset. But honestly, guys, this book, right, hands down, has to be the best book that I've ever read, and it's actually a fiction book. Okay, so it's a story book. It's not a business book or anything like that, but the life lessons about business and life that are in this book are honestly, if you're going to listen to it on Audible, to give you context to how big this book is, it's 66 hours. Okay, if you buy the unabridged full version on Audible. So it's a bit of a marathon, and you've got to sort of like accept that you might take you a few months to chog through it. And you can see it's like the Bible. Look, like the writing's tiny, and there's just hundreds of pages. But in essence, right? So I don't want to spoil it for you because it is a great story. But in essence, it divides the world into creators and takers, basically. You know, there's people on one side that are creating opportunity, creating businesses, creating a life, and then you've got people on the other side that are sucking away from the creators. And ultimately in the story, all the creators decide to go, fuck you, and create their own world. In essence, it's not sci-fi, it's based in America. It's got to do with like the train lines being built and they're like across the country and everything. In essence, they emigrate to a private island and create a creator's world where there's affluence, there's abundance, there's, you know, and the rest of the world is falling to shit. Sounds a bit cheesy, right? But honestly, guys, for me, have you ever heard of it, Andy?
I've not actually, no.
So I heard about this book.
Right? So but not that book.
Yeah, so there's a few. She's done quite a few bits. There's another one called The Fountainhead, which I've got down there, but it didn't quite make my short list because basically, if you read this first, this will be your favorite. If you read Fountainhead first, Fountainhead would be your favorite. But I've got to give kudos to the person that introduced me to it. So I was on a business program called Wake Up Warrior back in 2016. He's a crazy fucking lunatic American preacher guy, but he knows how to make money, you know. And he was played a pivotal part on my journey. You know, I've got all his books up here. They're not like books you can just buy. They're like part of his programs and stuff that he does. And it was him that mentioned the book, and I was like, I've never listened to like a story book before. Like, what the hell? Seems like a waste of time. But honestly, like I spent probably 4 or 5 months reading. I didn't read all of it, but I listened to all of it. So I was listening and trying to read along with it, like when I could. And so it was a bit of a hybrid of read and listen at the same time. But yeah, I just honestly, you've got to check it out. If you're sitting there thinking, oh, it won't be relevant, I don't want to waste my time, I want to learn something about business, just try it, right? Commit to 2 hours of the story and see if you don't fall in love with it and end up consuming the whole goddamn thing. Moving on. So to get us back onto sort of like a business focused book, this next one was again, I try not to use the word game changer, but at the time it really, really was a lot. This is like a world famous book similar to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber. And Really, I guess, it was a long time ago since I read this. This would have been 2016, 2017 that I read and listened to it. I would say ultimately it's systems, like if I had to summarize it, it's about creating systemized processes within the business and not to overcomplicate it. It's designed for small businesses. Andy, have you read that one?
I have.
Yeah.
I've just added another one to our list for today.
Okay, cool.
But it's from Matthew McConaughey, and I'm trying to figure out how to spell his fucking surname.
Oh, Greenlights. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I jumped in. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
loved it.
I think
let's talk about that one now. Go. I'll let you jump in.
Yeah.
Go straight into that.
Let me get this. I'm putting the spelling in the private chat for us. So give me one.
Oh, right.
If you wondered why I was typing, I'm trying to figure out his name.
So while Andy's fiddling around with that, E-Myth Revisited is, even in today's world, because it is an old book, I don't know when it was actually written. And any of you guys that remember the charity event that I put on, that I co-hosted, called the Trades Growth Summit, we actually interviewed my co-host at the time actually interviewed Michael Gerber. So he's still active and was still out there a few years ago. But I'm trying to look where it says when the book was written. I can't actually see, but it is very relevant. It still today will teach you what you basically need to know about systemizing, automating, creating processes and businesses. What's that, mate? Say?
It's the E-Myth. So Wayne has better concentration levels than me and is able to physically read the books. I really struggle to do it. But again, to go back to before, because I do a lot of running, I can churn through a lot of audiobooks while I'm running. So adapt and overcome to what suits you. A lot of us, again, we've spoke before about being a bit neurodiverse and struggling with concentration, and that was why we didn't go further to school and things like
Flying
that.
object. I'm not neurodiverse. What are you on
about? So audiobooks are kind of like the secret sauce for me. And it's a lot easier to then also go through it twice as well. So I'm a proper sucker for that. If I like something, I'll listen to it again, especially a businessy type book, because you'll naturally pull more stuff from it the second time round.
Yeah.
Depending on where your concentration was at that point on the first listen, you'll listen to it again. You go, I don't remember that bit.
You hear what you need to hear as well.
Yeah.
So by re-listening, that is a really, really important point. Don't be scared to re-listen to things, because even podcasts, for Christ's sake, because right now, whatever is meaningful to you will jump out, right? But in 6 months, something else might be meaningful and it will jump out. So yeah, very good point there, Andy.
So this book it's just you trigger me when you say about listening to a story, because
he's a story.
This was the first book that I listened to in probably about 2 years of doing audiobooks that wasn't educational or business related. But I'd sort of leaned into it because Matthew McConaughey is now quite big on that personal development space. He's not doing quite as much acting now, and he's huge, and he's done quite a few events with Tony Robbins. He's been one of the guest speakers and things like that. But this goes through, he's always had his head in this space, but only as of late really sort of it become his primary thing, if that makes sense. But he's been on this journey for 30 years, and it's just a really, really good book. He's got a cracking accent anyway. Sounds like a cowboy and all that. So he tells it really good. Obviously his acting skills pass through with his storytelling, but just something like the journey is so a big thing that is anyone that's doing into meditation, ice baths and things like that has probably heard about doing the ayahuasca journeys in South America. He just got up one day, he had a dream about it before he even knew it existed, before he knew it was a thing. He had a dream about floating down the Amazon rainforest, having an out-of-body experience. And then when he looked into it, turned out it was actually a thing, and went and did it. And yeah, it's just a good book. It's his like whole life journey, and it was a really nice. It was a pivotal book for me, like Rich Dad Poor Dad was for you, because it was a real break in that constant of the educational books that I'd been hammering to death. You know,
it can weigh down, can't it? Just learning about business, because it just, every bit of knowledge is an extra weight until you've used it, you know. And yeah, it's sometimes finding an escape from that. And someone like Matthew McConaughey, oh my God, that voice, you know, like if I was ever going to be homosexual, he would be my man. I'll tell you, because I love the bloke. He can just, he could sell me anything he wanted, you know, because he can just talk, he can articulate. And like you say, although he's always been sort of skirting around it, he looks like it's now really a focus for him. But the proof is in the pudding, because he's referencing journaling 30 years ago, you know, before. So he's obviously always been that way inclined, but obviously money and Hollywood obviously took over, which you know, probably was the right decision for him at the time. But the book there's a lot of lessons in there as well, isn't there? You know, there's a hell of a lot of lessons, and highly recommend. That's one that I would recommend not reading and just listening to personally. You know, you need to experience it.
It needs to be told by him, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has to. It has to be double earphones. You know, one of the best purchases I've ever. I'll say ever. My wife bought me recently was these over-the-head headphones, sound cancelling. I would recommend you put sound cancelling headphones in. You sit down and you just sort of lose yourself into Greenlights and just enjoy it. 'Cause it's not that long. I think it's only a couple of hours, isn't it? I don't think it was that long of a audio book.
I'll just check now. But one thing, he's absolutely been hammering the podcast lately. For those who don't know, I've got a bit of I don't know, would you call it a man crush on Chris Williamson?
Yeah,
just because he's just his podcast has just gone up, and the guest that he has on now is, I think he's number 8 in the world now. The guest that he's on is just unbelievable. But when he had Matthew McConaughey on, because Chris Williamson now lives in the States, he went to the set of where they filmed Interstellar, which is one of McConaughey's favorite films that he's ever done himself. And they filmed the podcast in the barn, where in front of the cornfield, and that cornfield was grown specifically for the film.
Yeah,
apparently.
And I think I remember from that podcast, it's funny how things stick out when you were interested. Like, he stayed there for 2 weeks after filming or something with his family as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he brought his family there.
Yeah.
And his lads were ripping around through the fields on bikes and stuff like that. So
well, I think you can tell that both me and Andy actually really love that book and him. So definitely go check it out.
6 hours 51. The book is.
Oh, is it? Oh, there must be another one of his that's only a short one. I think he released another book. What was that one called? Can you go on? You can be my who's Joe Rogan's what's the guy that does Joe Rogan's research? Oh fuck, Jamie. You can be my Jamie for a minute. What was the other book?
So he's got there
was one
Poems and Prayers.
Yes, that's it. Poems and Prayers. That's the one. That's only a short one. That's again a really interesting listen as well.
So that's I'm guessing that's newer, is it?
Yes, yeah, that come out after, yeah.
Let's have a look.
So stick that on your Audible, Andy.
Yeah, man, I've got a credit to use there. Yeah, go on, hit the next one.
Yeah, okay, so moving on to the next one. We've both got over our man crush now. This book for me,
double man crush in that one with a Chris Williamson drop.
This book for me again was one of those ones that once you've read it, you can't unlearn it, right? And The principles I later found out are quite universal. I didn't know at the time. But I don't know if you can see, like, there's 4 humans there, right? Red, yellow, green, and blue. And ultimately, what this book does, I'm going to actually reread it, actually, 'cause it's been a few years since I've done it. Basically, it teaches you how to understand people that are, obviously everyone's different, obviously, but they fit in generally into these 4 categories. You might get a mixture of a red and a yellow, or a green and a blue, and you can get some variants. But once you identify what traits people have, you can stop being surrounded by idiots, because you can understand why they're acting like they are, why they think like they are. Because it's very easy to sit here, you know, in our little 6 inches, whatever your head is, about 6 inches, something like that, you know, and think that everyone thinks the same as this. Or you might be sitting there the opposite and be thinking, why does no one understand the way that I think? And reading this book just gives you the infrastructure, really, to categorize people. So when I meet people for the first time, you know, I make a very quick assessment based on their behaviors, how they've entered the room. We all do it subconsciously. I just do it a bit more consciously now. And I can tell quite quickly how I need to nurture that relationship. If it's a relationship that I want to nurture, you know, it could be a friend, could be a family member, could be a complete stranger. But by understanding the principles in this book, it just gives you the tools to sort of handle people a lot better, and work with people. You know, in our industries, you know, not only are we dealing with customers, and obviously customers come in all shapes, all sizes, all different backgrounds, so it's very important from that point of view, but we're also dealing with other trades. We're dealing with the merchants. We're dealing with all of these different people. So getting an understanding on human behavior and the science behind why someone will say certain things, you know, like, you know, we all know the Billy the bullshitter, you know, like, and everyone has a bully. If you don't know one, you're probably the one. But that's just a good example of, like, it gives you strategies on how to deal with those sorts of people. You get the hothead person, you know, that walks in the room and wants to dominate. Then you get these sort of introverted people that maybe stand at the back, a little bit quiet, a little bit timid. And once you start to understand the nuances of these people, you can just enjoy working with people, whether it's a customer, whether it's a work colleague, whether it's a family member, just so much better. So definitely recommend Surrounded by Idiots. Is it one that you've listened to, Andy, or read?
I have another one of those, again, to reference the ADHD thing. I've started it and not finished it, because somebody gave me another recommendation at the time which looked a bit more appealing.
Bit more shiny.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely need to go back to it. Just it can, for me, I see it as transferable skills to the coaching side of things. Because it's that, you know, as you've just alluded to, everybody's a little bit different. Everybody does different things, and I've learned that over the 6 months that I've been doing the coaching, of not everybody wants to do things in the way that you think is the right way. So or the delivery needs to be done differently, for example. So we might as well roll onto it in a minute, but a book recommendation for mine is Ready, Fire, Aim. And that's kind of been my mindset with my heating business, because that's just how my brain works. But it's understanding that not everybody wants to go that way. A lot of people, and we've got a lot of lads in the group who are ready, aim, check the site, adjust it,
readjust, aim,
to, you know, laser target the area, throw a flow. I'm doing COD references, like, but, you know, get a flare on the target area, make sure you bang on, ask for some advice on it, check with your mate, check with your dad's, you know, pub mate, you know what I'm saying. check. So I'm the other way. So I'm obviously, especially given that it's not an industry where I believe you need to be constantly, you know, checking and checking and checking. It's just action solves most things, as we're forever saying. And this is kind of the premise of the book, isn't it? Really, that take the action and adjust the aim as you go, because there is so many angles that you can go. But yeah, it's just a really good book that perhaps gets a lot of guys that struggle to take that action because they spend, they spend too long thinking about it and wondering if this is the perfect way to do it. And I'm such a big advocate for start now, perfect later. This is a really
Rob Moore's
book.
got a good short book on that as well that sort of mirrors that sort of ready, fire, aim philosophy. But
yeah,
again, it's something that I listened to a long time ago, but I didn't realize that that was the way that I've always done things. So
yeah,
I'd say less so now. The older I get, the more I think the trigger finger's a little bit stiffer. You know, I'm a little bit reluctant to move as quickly as I once was, but the core of me is ready, fire, aim, and ultimately, you know, if you wait for perfection, then you're never going to get started. You know, you've sometimes just got to get out and fucking do it. You know, do something. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, learn that lesson, adjust, refocus, and go again. But it's quite a long one as well, I believe. I think that was quite a deep. There's a lot of context behind it, a lot of again, it's been many years since I've read it, but that's the joy of books, I think, as well, is and listening, because you don't remember it all, but you know it's left a scar because it's made our list for starters. You know, it's left a mark on us some way or somehow. And if you're one of those people that sit there with an idea, you know, and you never sort of take that next step, go and read this book or listen to it, because it will hopefully give you the fuel that you need to get that idea out into the world.
Yeah, and I think excuse me, I think it's a lot of, so I would say I probably have more entrepreneurial tendencies than business owner tendencies. And you're probably a little bit more the other way around these days. So you're better with the lads when it comes to numbers, strategy, creating a pathway moving forward, whereas I'm better with the mindset and let's get going, get off your ass and take the action kind of thing. So if you're a little bit more leaning towards the business owner side and you're struggling to take the action, I think this is a really good book for you to read and sort of, again, let's say, make you get off your ass and actually, instead of sitting on that business idea that you've had for, however long, just to get up and get it going.
Yeah. Well, I think that leads us into another one of yours, Andy. I've changed the order a little bit, but I think that sort of goes up with the Mind Over Miles by Russ Cook. So do you want to, just tell people about the book and about Russ, really, and the impact it's made on you?
Yeah. So Russ is a guy that does ultra, I wouldn't even call them ultra long distance running. He just like runs for like a year. He just again, most likely a very neurodiverse lad, because he kind of just got up and went, well, actually, I'm going to run across, started with length of Britain. And then this book is primarily based on his run across Africa.
But he's also run across Europe as well. He ran from Turkey, didn't he, to England?
And it just goes into the challenges and the mental challenges and the logistics of it. And it's just a really good book, not just for if you're into running, but for if you're, just from a life lesson perspective of persistence and, accepting that you're going to come across obstacles, whether it is in business or in life. And that resilience is the key to it. Life isn't meant to be easy, and to go a little bit deeper into sort of the mindset side of things and I was having this chat with my dad the other day. I think that one of the challenges of the modern world, especially for men, and the reason why I think there's more issues with, you know, men's mental health and the suicide rate of men going up massively is tied to the world that we live in now is a bit fucked for men. It's hard to know your place.
Yeah.
Again, delving into something that's going to get me cancelled here, but the world now is being geared towards being more suitable for women, and, you know, creating the place, because the world has always been for men up until, you know, 100 years ago or whatever it was. So now there's a lot of like, well, where do men sit in the world? What is our place? And men without a purpose are men with problems. Sitting on your ass,
100%.
playing video games, scrolling social media, whatever. And I do think most men's problems can be solved with taking action, essentially, as we were just talking about. But, you know, getting in shape. I'm quoting Chris Williamson again here, but most men's problems can be solved by getting in shape and making money. You've still got your problems, but you're better equipped to deal with them now. So that's a line.
I agree.
Yeah, because men are by nature designed to have a purpose. Like they have to. We can't sit around. Women are more geared to sitting around because the bodies are sort of primed for, you know, having children and then looking after the children, and there is an element of waiting around and looking after the kids. So it's written into the DNA. That's why there's less entrepreneurs who are women and things like that, because it's less written into their DNA. It's more out of their comfort zone, so it takes a little bit more action on their part. Whereas with men, we were like, sort of, engineers the wrong word, but it's in our DNA to go out and catch the animal and do the hunting and protect the home and, you know, build that fire outside the cave way back when. So in this modern world now, where there's less of that to do, that's where a lot of the problems come from, I think. So yeah, to sort of come back full circle, it's about just getting on with the task, and the action usually sets you free, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, no, I definitely agree. So it's definitely worth listening in and following his journey as well. You know, he puts a lot of content out on the socials. He's always up to something. So yeah, go check out Russ Cook, and definitely Mind Over Miles. Another one of Andy's. So winning through intimidation. So that could be a quite controversial statement there. It's by Robert Ringer. I loved the book. It was one that Andy recommended to me, so I read it recently. I actually listened to that one. Do you want to just share the principles and what you learned from this, mate?
Yeah. Side note, his editor tried to get him to change the name of the title because he didn't agree with it. And he thought it was going to dent sales, but it actually had the opposite effect. So this, like Rich Dad Poor Dad for you, was the pivotal book for me. So for those that have been listening to the channel for a while will know that my sort of development journey started with some property training, and then fell into the realms of doing property sourcing. Some might call it property trading. So this was essentially written by a guy who was doing property trading back before it was actually really a thing in the States. So he was doing it in, you know, sort of 40 years ago, before it was really a popular thing. And the premise of it really is, as the name says, winning through intimidation. So winning through being intimidated. And the reason it was so prevalent and it struck such a nerve with me is that from the trades construction side of things, we've all been at that point where, let's say you price a job, let's keep it simple and say it's a combi swap or a rewire or, you know, plastering a full house. And then the customer says, oh, I like your business, I like you, I like what you're about, but you've quoted me $3,000 for this job, and the next highest quote was 2,400, for example. If you can match that price, you can have the job. And from my data and from the lads that we've worked with, the usual answer is, well, yeah, normally just drop it because I don't want to lose the job.
Yeah.
But when you think about that from a different perspective, you're not only selling yourself short, you're actually losing weight with that customer. It sets a precedence for the future, and they know that any future work that you quote them for, they're going to be able to knock you down. And there's one particular section of the book where he was brokering a deal between someone selling a big piece of commercial property, brokering a deal between the buyer and the seller, and it was basically a win-win-win scenario, and his broker's fee was, I think it was like $1 million, and the property, the guy who bought the property had paid like $2 million for it however many years ago. It was now worth 20, and then the guy buying it was getting it for 10. So it was like a win-win-win scenario. And then they basically tried to write him out of the deal by saying, yeah, we're going to go ahead, but we've decided I want to make a little bit more on selling it. I want to save a little bit more on buying it. So we're only going to give you 500 grand, even though you're agreed. And then he'd reached the point in his life, financially and mentally, where he then said, actually, no, I'll walk away from the deal. And that's the winning through intimidation. So he basically had reached the mindset where he was able to say, actually, if you're not going to give me what I've agreed, what we've all agreed on, I will walk away, and we will all lose out because you're all going to have to start again, more fees, more, more solicitors, etc. And it was just it really struck from that trade side, because I used to do bathrooms, and that was one of those where there can be two massive ends of the scale with pricing because there's so many variables and nuances to doing them. And it become a bit of a recurring theme of, well, I've had this price, can you do it for that? And it's like, well, you're not comparing apples with apples. So then I would end up folding and say, actually, well, I'll use this cheaper adhesive, or I'll not do the waterproofing, or whatever it might be. Whereas, again, knowing what I know now and through reading that book, it was actually, well, no, this is what I'm proposing. This is the quote. This is what we're about. This is our business and how we work. If you don't want it, then you go and use the cheap guy and you take the risk. And that was what really, really struck with me. It's having the confidence, because it just spills on. And what is it? How you do anything is how you do everything. So that's what it's all about. And it's setting that presence. And what you'll actually find is that confidence that you then allude to the customer, confidence in your business and what you do, actually can have that reversed psychology effect then. And they're actually, oh, these guys are serious. And a little bit, it's like the hot topic at the minute, which is getting payments up front. People don't want to do it because they're like, well, the customers not like it. But that, to me, is showing your authority as a business and taking it away from that classic tradesman down the road. It's actually, no, we're a proper functioning business. Like most businesses, we want payment up front. So, yeah. It's a very, very, very pivotal book for me, that one.
Definitely go check it out, guys. So we're moving on to what is the last one on the list, but knowing Andy's brain, he might have another one to throw in. This one is quite an interesting book. So it's based on the Stoic philosophy. If you can afford it, buy the fancy one, because it is a really nice book, all gold leafed and everything, but they do the standard version as well. And the book here is designed to read one page at a time. Okay. So one page a day, right? So it's all labeled, the date and no one can tell me they haven't got the time. This is one really that you need to read, in my opinion, because the idea is that you read the page and you reflect on what that page tells you, and I committed last year to reading it. January the 1st, I gave up smoking. And so I had two things last year: give up smoking and read a page a day. And I actually posted a quote from it every single day. So if you look through my socials, there's a post every single day last year where I posted an excerpt of something from the page that I read. Stoic philosophy is a huge topic. Most famous probably is Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor, and there's so many meditations. There you go. So that's Marcus Aurelius's basically diary. Yeah. It's lessons that he learned, and it's so relevant. And what baffles me is it's like nearly 2,000 years ago, and it's still so relevant today. Similar to the Bible, you know, if you ever read the Bible, you know, the lessons in there are still in today's terms are very real. So Andy, have you started yours yet? I bought you one for Christmas, didn't I? Have you started it, or have you not yet?
Got me the fancy one.
I got him the fancy one. His Christmas present from me was that.
So
have you started it or not yet?
No, because I'm looking through this one first.
Oh, you're going through the meditations first, yeah. So because it's based on such ancient stuff, it can be quite a challenging read. Anything to do with Stoicism can sometimes sort of boggle the brain a bit, which is why I think the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday is the perfect introduction to it, because you've only got to digest one page a day. Yeah, you don't. If you try to, like, if you sat down and tried to read other Stoic books like as a book and just read like 20 pages, you're going to miss so much of it, which is why I love the Daily Stoic. And I would definitely recommend it to anyone. And you can start any time. So if you bought it today, just start today and read it for 365 days, you know, and just, it doesn't have to start January the 1st, you know, the world doesn't just start on that day. But having a structure and following it in the date format, it gives you a little bit of stability. So, you know, you're right, that's the next page. You just read that next page, whichever day you decide to start. And there's so many sort of lessons from it that I couldn't even begin to explain how it's affected me. But, you know, simple things like about sort of, it is what it is. You know, you can only control what you can control. And I've got all the Stoic coins up here. So like, sounds rude, but like memento mori is a famous phrase from it, which is like, we're all going to die. So, you know, so is the problem that you're facing really that important? Because ultimately one day we're not going to be here. Another one is the obstacle is the way. So stop avoiding the obstacles and go through them, because that is the way to the better, newer you. Yeah, it's a fascinating book. It's also good for personal discipline, because reading one page a day is a good habit to build into your life. I've actually, because I finished this one on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. I ordered so this one's a more religious one. It's to do with the Bible, but basically it's a one page a day book. Again, I love that idea of just consuming one page, you know, reflecting on it just for a few moments. So like I choose to do it at night. So I lie in my bed, I open the page, I read the page, I think about it. The house is quiet. So it gives me that few moments just to reflect on whatever it is that I'm reading at that time. Right. So that's the main books that jumped out to us. Is there anything that's come to mind while we've been chatting, Andy, that you think, oh, damn, I wish I'd mentioned that? Or should we save it for other episodes?
I mean, we could go on and on, really. I think we're probably worth doing a different one on a different time, because it depends how far down the rabbit hole you go. And I don't want to, I've got quite a lot of sort of businessy type books from, again, my time doing the property stuff, a lot of like productivity type books as well. But again, I'm trying to just keep it relevant to our listeners, really. And there's a lot of really boring shit in there, which I really, really struggled with concentration wise. So it's probably not worth delving into that. But the Stoicism stuff is very, very prevalent, because it has so many real world applications, especially when, again, we were just talking about like the mental health side of things. So many applications with that, because it is like, well, what will be, and essentially that, you know, nothing ever happens to you directly. It's just your perception of the situation. And like one way it was really simplified to me is that, let's say you're into, say you're an avid cyclist, for example, and you do a lot of road riding, and you have a big ride planned. You're going out spending all Sunday riding. You get up and it's fucking pissing it down, absolutely pissing it down, like hammering it down. So it means there's going to be loads of puddles on the road. That's going to, increase the danger of doing it. It's going to reduce the level of enjoyment. You're going to have rain peppering you in the face, blah, blah, blah. And then you're pissed off about it and it just ruins the ride for the day. All that's happened is it's rained. That's all that's happened. Conversely, then, to the guy in Africa on the plains doing the rain dance because he's so fucking desperate for some rain to come because he's not got anything to eat and his crops aren't growing, he's an absolute overjoyed because it's rained, because it's pissed it down. It's the same fucking thing, isn't it? That was a really
same actions happened, but yeah.
It's just what you perceive of the situation and how you put it into your situation. So that's, I think that's kind of a big premise of Stoicism, isn't it? It's just entirely, and then it extends then onto anything to do with like anxiety and things like that. It's just what it's, anxiety is essentially worry about something that hasn't happened.
Yeah. And ultimately, there's you have to be cautious. You have to think about the future, blah, blah, blah. But the only thing that you can change is now. What's happened in the past is in the past. What's happening in the future is in the future. It's only what's now, right now, is all that you can actually impact. And making sure that that's at the top of your mind as much as you can is very, very powerful. And I'm not sitting here and pretending that I do that. There's moments in my life where I let it get the better of me, but you fall to the level of your training. It's a phrase that I think it might have been Jocko Willink that said it, that you don't rise to the expectation, you fall to the level of your training. And reading, listening, learning is how you bring that level of training from here to here. And every time that you learn that little bit more, you try that different strategy and it works or it doesn't work, you are now in a better place than you were. Whereas if you just sit idle and become the victim all of the time, then you're never going to progress. You're never going to break through those moments. And, we've touched on mental health. So I think it's only right that we sort of quickly just explain to anybody that is listening, if you are struggling with depression, anxiety, stresses, there is help and support out there. I'm not trained to help, but I have been through a lot, and my phone is always on to anybody that wants to talk. But there are professionals out there. There's lots of mental health charities, especially for men at the moment. There's lots of support out there. So anyone that is struggling, please make sure that you reach out to somebody, whether it be me and Andy, whether it be a professional, whether it be a family member. It's the first step to helping you on that journey. So please make sure that you do something, because by doing nothing, you're making a decision. So you might as well make a decision that has a chance to help you rather than making the decision not to do anything.
Yeah, Wayne will pop the contacts up on the screen in a minute.
Yep.
But yeah, we've both experienced it firsthand ourselves. So if you want to speak to someone, because again, it's very it's such a big issue in the trades, because it's like, well, not really got anyone to talk to. My trade mates, immediate mates, like, I don't know, they'll take the piss or whatever it might be. So sometimes you need to speak to someone perhaps a bit removed from your core group, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. So on that note, we've gone through some of the most pivotal books that come to mind for us. Please feel free to share yours in the comments if you're listening to this or watching this, or reach out and give us a recommendation. I'm always looking for something to read or listen to. So yeah, please get involved, be active in the community. And one last thing, I'm going to throw this in just to sort of end on a more lighter note. Reading storybooks isn't for children. Okay. you can read storybooks and not feel demasculined by it, right? And I'm going to share with you probably my favorite series of all time. There's 11 books in this series. It's by an author called George MacDonald Fraser, and I've just picked one of the random. This isn't the first one, but basically it's called the Flashman series, and there's 11 stories here, and this is about this rogue, manly man in the 1800s. And the story goes through all of these adventures that he goes on. He's a scoundrel, you know, he's a womanizer, he's a gambler, he's basically a right wrong-un, but comes out smelling of roses every single story. And sometimes just reading these sort of things just decompress the mind. You know, you just fall into the story. And this in particular, this series is fascinating because it actually got a lot. So the story is written as if they found real life journals, right? And then the story is based on the journals of this rogue. He ended up being a major in the army, and he got knighted and met the Queen, and you know, shagged his way around the world with all these different heads of people in the 1800s. But in America, they thought it was real, so they missed like the main joke of it, that it was based on false journals. They weren't real journals, but in America it was like, and then it was a big thing when it all got released, that is it real, is it not real, and it's still to this day left a little bit like, was this guy real, is this a real life like thing that's been masked as a story? And like I said, there's 11 of these bad boys, and they are brilliant. So if you are just looking for something lighthearted and a little bit of fun, just search up the Flashman series by George MacDonald Fraser. I just wanted to end on a lighter, more fun note. So on that note, I'm done. Are you done, Andy?
I'm done.
Lovely. See you all on the next one.